Welcome to this deep dive, where we're unpacking a really critical moment of technological disruption.
hmm
A moment so immediate, it's forcing an entire sector to, well, either pivot or just perish.
That's right.
We're looking at a stack of sources here, detailing a massive, almost existential shift in the business process outsourcing sector, the BPO sector.
Huh.
And we're focusing on what this means for a country like Nepal.
Right. And for a decade, the BPO model has been this quiet engine for jobs built on what the industry calls labor arbitrage.
The wage difference, basically.
Exactly. The difference between wages in a developed country and a developing one. And that model, which is mostly voice-based customer service, is now facing a seismic technological reckoning.
And the sources are, they're not mincing words about the timeline. This isn't some far-off economic worry.
Not at all. It's immediate.
We're talking about generative AI getting so sophisticated that it's going to make those low-value, script-driven jobs just obsolete. And they're saying with full force by 2026.
The engine is about to be swished off. But that's the thing. It's classic creative destruction. What's fascinating here is how this threat is also creating this unprecedented opportunity.
A pivot.
A huge one. This disruption is the catalyst for a pivot toward high-value services, specifically data annotation for AI. We call it reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF.
And this isn't just about finding replacement work. The material suggests that if this is done right, it could be a $500 million a year market for Nepal.
Right.
The old advantage was cheap labor. The new one, and the sources really emphasize this, is something they call cognitive nuance.
And we really need to unpack why Nepal specifically is so well suited to deliver on that. But maybe even more critically, we have to look at the single biggest policy obstacle.
A man-made barrier.
Completely man-made. And it has to be overcome within a very tight 36-month window to capture this opportunity before someone else does.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's ground this in economics first. We need to really understand the fundamental shift here, from the old BPO model to this new RLHF opportunity. The old BPO was just a cost center. It was a race to the bottom on price. Now, the human worker is moving into a role that is a critical part of the value chain itself.
That transition is absolutely foundational. The sources explain that the old economic model is completely broken by technology because of marginal cost.
What do you mean by that?
Well, a good conversational AI voice agent, one that can handle, say, 80% of routine customer queries.
Right, the simple stuff.
Its marginal cost is near zero. And no human worker, even at $4 an hour, can compete with a price point of zero. That part of the business is just dead.
So, okay, the old jobs are gone. Where does the new value come from?
It comes from taking all that raw power and making it useful. You hear about these large language models, LLMs.
Sure, the engines behind ChatGPT or Claude.
Exactly. Think of an LLM as a brilliant but totally undisciplined child. It knows every word ever written, but it has no manners, no common sense, no moral compass.
I love that analogy. It's so fitting.
And RLHF is the finishing school. It's this sophisticated process that turns that raw, chaotic LLM into a usable, safe product. The human isn't just entering data. The human is teaching the machine how to behave.
So the human becomes an AI tutor. What does that actually look like on a day-to-day basis? It sounds like it requires some pretty specialized judgment.
It's cognitive labor of the highest order. Let's take an example from the sources. The AI model gets a tricky prompt, maybe a question about a public health controversy or a sensitive historical topic.
No.
The AI generates, say, 4 different responses. The human tutor then has to rank all 4, not just for accuracy, but based on these complex human values: helpfulness, honesty, and harmlessness.
And that distinction between just being accurate versus being harmless, that's key, isn't it?
Crucially so. A response might be factually correct, but it could be structured in a way that, promotes dangerous pseudoscience, or maybe it uses overly partisan language.
The human is the filter.
The human is the critical filter. They're acting as critics, judges, ethical arbiters. They're constantly explaining why one response is better than another, aligning the AI's math with human nuance. The human is literally the gold standard.
Which has to elevate the economic value. Let's contrast the earnings, because this is where the impact is just staggering.
Absolutely. A traditional call center agent in Nepal is stuck in that broken $4 to $6 an hour model. But the sources show a skilled RLHF data annotator can command $15 to $25 an hour.
Wow.
And for specialized fields law, medicine, coding, it can go even higher.
That's a life-changing economic jump for an individual. It moves a job from a low-wage commodity role to a high-value professional career. almost overnight.
And if you scale that up to the national level, that's where the $500 million target comes from. The global market for this is projected to be over $10 billion by 2026.
So if Nepal captures just a small piece of that,
A mere 5%. That's it. By training a workforce of maybe 15 to 20,000 of these skilled AI tutors, you generate well over $500 million in annual revenue.
and that completely dwarfs what the old BPO sector was bringing in. And these are resilient, future-proof jobs based on intellect, not just volume.
It's a complete upgrade for the nation's place in the global digital economy.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's address the elephant in the room. If this is such a huge opportunity, why Nepal? I mean, India has unbeatable scale. The Philippines has decades of BPO experience.
Right.
What makes Nepal uniquely positioned to go from answering phones to training the world's most advanced AI?
The sources point to a unique combination of three factors that create what they call a cognitive surplus.
A cognitive surplus.
It's this large, highly capable, educated talent pool whose potential has been, well, largely underutilized until now. They've been overqualified for the jobs they were doing.
Okay, let's break down those three factors. Let's start with the language advantage.
So the quality of English is the first piece. Graduates there have a high level of technical written English. That's essential for the kind of judgment and writing RLHF needs.
But it's more than just proficiency.
Yes. The key differentiator is accent neutrality. AI labs want foundational models that work globally. They actively try to avoid baking in strong regional accents or very specific cultural idioms into the AI's core feedback loop.
So the neutral accent and the quality of the English means the feedback is more valuable because it's, what, globally calibrated?
Precisely. It's universal objectivity, not regional flavor. They're building a global product. They need a global, neutral perspective, which leads right into the second factor, this paradox of cognitive surplus.
That sounds a bit contradictory. How's a surplus of talent an advantage?
Well, it's a demographic gift born from an unfortunate economic reality. Nepal has a high literacy rate, a growing number of university graduates, but it also has chronic underemployment. So you get this huge accessible talent pool, a demographic dividend, who are way overqualified for call center work, but have the exact critical thinking and reasoning skills needed for RLHF.
They're essentially a ready-made, high IQ labor force that just needs some targeted training.
Exactly. And that brings us to the third factor, which I think is the most counterintuitive and, frankly, the most compelling: cultural detachment and objectivity.
Wait, hold on. Why is being detached from, say, U.S. or Western culture an advantage? Shouldn't the tutors be deeply embedded in that culture to know what's appropriate?
That's the critical insight from the source material. These AI models have to be trained to navigate highly sensitive, often polarizing topics neutrally.
Okay.
A workforce that's deep in the day-to-day culture wars of the U.S. might, even unconsciously, project their own partisan biases onto the AI when they're judging what's harmful or honest.
But the Nepali workforce, while they're globally aware, is generally one step removed from that intense local polarization.
And that removal is a massive strategic advantage. It lets them be more objective arbiters. They can evaluate AI responses based on principles of neutrality and logic, not on which political tribe the content seems to favor.
So Nepal can market itself as the Switzerland of AI alignment.
Exactly, because its workforce can deliver the kind of reliable objectivity that these big tech giants are desperate for in their foundational models.
So the talent, the objectivity, the demand, it's all aligned. But the sources warn that this entire potential is being held up by a single man-made obstacle.
Yes, and this is where potential hits a wall. The obstacle is pure bureaucratic friction, and it comes from the Nepal Rashtra Bank, the NRB.
The central bank.
The single biggest impediment to scaling this sector is the cumbersome, outdated process for getting foreign currency payments for digital service exports back into the country.
So you do the work, you deliver the service, but getting paid is a nightmare.
An administrative nightmare. We're talking about a paper-heavy system that treats this high-volume flow of digital services like it's the sale of a physical shipping container. It's a brick wall at digital speed.
That's a structural barrier that the fast-paced world of AI just won't tolerate. These U.S. tech giants, they're paying millions weekly. They need smooth, reliable transactions.
And they're not going to wait for a manual approval system. It makes Nepali firms instantly less competitive than their peers in, say, Kenya or Estonia.
Who are also chasing this market.
Aggressively. And they're winning because their governments have prioritized ease of payment and regulatory speed. The current NRB framework just forces companies to manage a paper blizzard instead of winning contracts.
So to unlock this, the whole regulatory mindset has to shift from a 20th century view of controlling capital to a 21st century view of enabling high-speed digital exports.
That's it. And the sources propose a very specific three-point path to clear this bottleneck. First, the NRB and the Tech Ministry need to immediately establish a distinct digital service export framework.
What would that practically change?
It would mean a simplified one-window system, but the most crucial change is procedural. It has to shift from preemptive manual approval for every transaction to post-facto automated reporting.
So once a firm is vetted, they just report the transaction after it happens.
Yes, they don't wait for permission. That one change signals to the world that Nepal is open for high-speed digital business.
And beyond that immediate fix, what about the talent pipeline? How do you formalize it?
That's the educational piece. The BPO Association of Nepal needs to partner with major universities. Kathmandu and Pokhara are mentioned to launch certified AI interaction specialist programs.
And these would go beyond just basic English.
Way beyond. They'd focus on the core needs of RLHF, ethics, logic, critical thinking, bias detection.
So that certification becomes the quality stamp for global clients.
Exactly. It shifts the conversation from cheap labor to certified, neutral, high-quality intellectual capital.
This all sounds like a solid roadmap, but we keep coming back to the timeline. This is a race. The advantage is highly perishable. Let's look at the two possible futures the sources outline.
The sources are blunt. There's no middle ground. There are two scenarios, and they'll be determined by what happens in the next 12 months. First is the alpha scenario.
This is the optimistic one.
This is where decisive action is taken. The regulatory overhaul gets done within a year. Nepal then aggressively markets itself as the Switzerland of AI alignment.
And that pivot leads to the $500 million target, creating 15,000 to 20,000 high-paying jobs.
And fundamentally upgrading the country's role in the global digital economy.
Okay, and the alternative, the missed opportunity scenario.
This is where policymakers dither. The regulatory friction remains. The speed needed for the AI industry just isn't there.
And the first mover advantage is lost.
It's lost to more agile nations. Kenya, Nigeria, maybe even Bhutan. They're all actively chasing this. And the cost isn't just lost revenue. It's squandering that demographic dividend.
The cognitive surplus.
It stays underemployed, and you see accelerated brain drain as the best and brightest leave to find this kind of work elsewhere.
That's the hard truth here. This niche for human trainers, RLHF, it's at the frontier now, but AI is relentlessly getting better. This window isn't permanent.
No, it is not.
While humans are the gold standard for training AI today, the expectation is that in, 3 to 5 years, AI models will be able to do a lot of this self-correction themselves.
Precisely. The goal isn't to build a permanent industry around this one task. It's to use this window to build the brand, the relationships, the institutional knowledge, and the digital infrastructure now.
The source is very clear. This is a 36-month opportunity.
It's a race for global relevance, and the starting gun has already fired.
So we've seen how the threat of generative AI is also creating this unprecedented high-value market opportunity for cognitive labor in Nepal, provided these critical self-imposed bottlenecks get cleared immediately.
Right. This pivot is about strategically upgrading a nation's export profile, moving from selling basic time to selling sophisticated judgment. And agility in policy is going to be the single deciding factor.
So what does this all mean?
Well, the human is currently the absolute gold standard for defining an AI's core values: helpfulness, honesty, harmlessness. For the skilled AI tutor, their high-value job is to train the very system that is destined to learn how to self-correct and eventually replace them. What does it mean for the global labor market when the trainers themselves are operating on such a tight, defined 36-month timeline? That's something for you to mull over as you think about the temporary yet crucial future of cognitive work.